Should I go beat him up?
On the next all-new episode of Dragon Ball Daima.
What the heck is going on? No way! Someone made off with the Dragon Ball!
The werewolf downstairs was a diversion.
Come on! After everything we had to go through?
Dragon Ball Daima. Next Saturday at midnight. Only Toonami on Adult Swim. On the next all-new episode of Dawn to Dawn.
You first, Okarun. So, what are we supposed to do when Turbo Granny shows anyway? Punch her?
No! We have to lure her out of Shono City and get her away from the bound spirit in here. That way she'll be weak enough for us to beat her. You're not scared anymore?
What's to be scared of? She's a little old biddy, not some ginormous alien.
Dawn to Dawn. New episode next Saturday at 12:30 a.m. on Toonami.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Toonami Therapy, our podcast where we talk about stuff we're watching on Toonami and stuff we're watching that's not on Toonami. So, today is August 1st of 2025. I am Michael.
Yeah, hello, I'm Tommy.
And, well, I don't think... Actually, I forgot to check, so I don't think there's any big, important news that got released about anything or anything. So let me just, did they announce any schedule changes or anything?
Not that I know of. Next thing I expect is the whatever we're going to get as a rerun on Labor Day.
Okay. Yeah, that's not for a bit. That's actually, I just know it's sometime in September. Is it the beginning of September, the end of September? I can't remember. But
first Monday of September.
Okay. All right. So I guess we'll just get into it. Going in the order the episodes aired. So we've got Dragon Ball Daima episode 6. So in this episode we have, let's see. Right. They basically have to, they can't keep going with the plane because they have to land it because they had too much luggage in there. Then some and then they basically then they just leave the luggage behind and they then they're able to leave. The basically Glorio decides that even he wants to fight Goku to see if Goku's actually that strong, and then even though we basically devoted the previous episode to reestablishing yes, Goku is still pretty strong, they fight, and then Goku wins, thus establishing what we already knew, that he was pretty strong. And so, and that's the episode. Although we do find out that Vegeta, Piccolo, and the other guy are it looked like they were going to try to go, but then didn't like the ship not work, so they didn't, meaning we'll have to wait longer for them to show up. I'm kind of sorry.
I don't really have much to say about this episode except for that ship thing where they tried to get in the ship and then the ship breaks down and stuff. Like that was interesting. Mostly though, just another episode of Daima.
Yeah, this series is 20 episodes, and I'm really getting the feeling now. I don't know how the later ones go, but I'm thinking maybe the series should have been shorter because it feels like they're having to put in a bunch of stuff to fill up time. Like, did we like Goku and Glorio fight? Okay, but we didn't really get anything out of that other than saying yes, Goku is still really strong. did we know he could go Super Saiyan still? I can't remember if we learned any in the previous episode. But my point is, it's just some stuff we could have established more quickly. And there's a bunch of other things in this series so far that I've been thinking, yeah, we this kind of has felt like, padding out stuff because I guess they needed to get to 20 episodes. But I've been wondering if maybe this would have been better if it just been a straight 12 or 13 episodes. They could have cut out a bunch of the things and tightened up the plot.
Yeah, like that Pansy thing where she was flirting with Goku that whole time. And that could have easily been cut out. That was not necessary. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so then we get into the premiere of Don to Don, which is spelled by Toonami as 3 words, even though the manga spells it as 1 word, which again is. I'm just asking for consistency here. Okay, so basically, plot of this, to try to get through the plot of this. So there's these 2 kids. It's this girl named Momo and this boy whose name we don't actually find out until the end, but he's usually going forward. I know he's usually called. Actually, I can't remember. Was it Okarun? I think that, but they haven't gotten that name yet. Whatever. So basically. He's I think that's only in the 2nd episode. Sorry, I did read a little bit of this a while ago, so I kind of know a few things that are going to happen. Okay, basically, he's obsessed with science fiction stuff while she's claims there's ghosts and things. So they basically get into this argument about it, and he tells her, and they kind of make a bet where she goes to this place where there's a bunch of alien abductions supposedly, and he goes to this place that's supposedly haunted, except they actually do meet up with aliens and a ghost. She gets abducted by them, and the guy gets basically cursed into some sort of monster thing by the ghost, but he manages to get to her while she's being held by the aliens and sort of helps. He goes there through the phone somehow. I don't know if it explained how they did that. Supernatural powers. Anyway, turns out she's got psychic powers and is able to use it also to fight off the aliens, and they manage to get away, and that's the 1st episode. Okay.
Yeah, what do you think of it?
Well, it was an interesting thing. So I liked. There's some stuff I liked about the show. I liked the characters. Some of the jokes were kind of funny, but then there's some really weird fan service stuff in the second half that I didn't care for. That is the thing that I've seen so many people who like Don to Don say, look, that's just the first. It doesn't completely go away, but it gets a lot less after the 1st episode.
Yeah. So yeah. What do you go ahead? I'm sorry.
No, sorry. You can go.
Okay. So well, I forgot to record this because it was a new show, but fortunately Crunchyroll has it, so I was able to see it, and I don't know. I wanted to like it, and it's not that I hate it. It just felt a little too much like Cooley to me. That was the show that I kept thinking of. It was just like all this ridiculous stuff is happening, and there's no real explanation for it. It's just kind of like, yeah, this is the way this world works, and I like the concept, the idea of she doesn't believe in UFOs and he doesn't believe in ghosts, and then they get attacked by the thing they didn't believe in. I thought that was very and maybe it was predictable, but I thought it was a pretty good premise. I just don't know about the execution because it felt like there was just too much random stuff going on and crazy stuff that just didn't make any sense. And yeah, so I feel like it's a above average show so far for one episode. I wouldn't give up on it after one episode, but it's got some work to do if it wants to win me over.
So yeah, we'll see how it goes forward.
Mm-hmm.
Obligatory. The thing everyone I've seen so many people mention. The sort of old the ghost, the Turbo Granny, I think they call it. Did you, actually you probably don't because recognize. Did you recognize the voice at all?
Yeah, I might have at the moment, but I
Okay,
don't.
well, she's the person who did that. She's done some stuff in anime, but she's definitely best known for being the voice of Rita Repulsa on Power Rangers.
Oh, I have no
So
idea who that
she's
is.
always you didn't watch Power Rangers, or did you and you
Never
forgot?
watched Power Rangers ever. Wasn't
Okay,
allowed to. Wasn't allowed
no.
to as a kid. Yeah. So,
To be
yeah.
honest, I know my opinion seems to go against a lot of people, but I actually thought the early seasons weren't that interesting. I thought they were too repetitive. I kind of like some of the later seasons more, where there was a bit more of a plot going on. But whereas the plot of the first season, the first 60 episodes, I can summarize it as this. They get powers. Tommy becomes a Green Ranger. Tommy is no longer the Green Ranger. Tommy is a Green Ranger again. There, I just saved you 60 episodes. Okay. All right, so moving on. That's the opening of Don to Don, our new series, and then we'll move on to Bleach, episode Thousand Year Blood War, episode 9.
Yeah. So there's two parts of this episode. First part is Ichigo and Renji eating everything in sight, which made me feel like we got another Goku and Luffy on our hands here, because all they were showing was just eating, eating, eating. And I'm not sure exactly how that was supposed to uh, be entertaining, but there you have it. And then the second half of the episode is, well, Kubo pretty much said, okay, I got to kill off one of the captains. So how am I going to do that? Okay, I'll have Captain Unohana and Captain Saraki battle it out to the death just for the heck of it. And and I don't see what Captain Unohana gets out of it. Though it hasn't, technically the battle's still going on, so I can't technically say what I think about it, but yeah, they battle it out, and it's very hard to see their battle because which is a big problem. Thousand Year Blood War, everything is so dark that it's very hard to see the battles. Yeah, it's just not my favorite thing so far. But yeah, that was this week's episode of Bleach.
Yeah, we it basically was really, now that I think about it, they eat some stuff, and then there's this stuff with Kenpachi, where it is kind of funny where they're just like saying, yeah, we got to make Kenpachi stronger, and you think, well, why didn't you do that to begin with? Isn't this kind of, or I don't know, just seemed like it was a little weird to say, well, okay, the previous time where we were all in total danger from Aizen, we didn't feel the need to do this with Kenpachi, but now really it's important.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, this was yeah, honestly, I feel like I forgot that they had actually started the fight, because they didn't really get too much into it. I just remember the stuff leading up to it. Okay. All right. So we got that. I don't really have anything to add to that, unfortunately, but we've got Blue Exorcist episode 34. All right, so basically, it's a little trick. It's this one was kind of this one is a little hard to kind of describe because wasn't it really just everyone was just kind of caught up in their own sort of battles and dealing with it?
Yeah.
So I mean like that's kind of it. What do I say? Do I just go through each individual one? There's still I think the one that got the most focus was Yukio still fighting the bad guy who I can't remember.
Mhm.
I'm sorry, maybe I'm just I should have been paying more attention, but yeah.
Yeah, actually, I like this episode. I thought it was good to build up some of these friendships between the characters. I thought that was actually a pretty good idea to try to straighten those character development. Um, I thought it was a pretty good episode. Obviously, it's everything is jumbled. I mean, I have no idea what the main objective is anymore. Like it used to be, okay, our main objective is so we can get Rin powerful enough so he can kill Satan. And now it's kind of like, oh, we got this year, this year, this year, this year. And yeah, it's very confusing. But yeah, I actually like this episode.
Yeah, it does. I kind of went through it fast, but it does help that it is focusing a lot more on the characters we, spent most of the first season, focusing on and building up. Whereas so much of this new season has just kind of been, okay, well, we'll just focus on all these new characters now. So,
Mhm.
so a return to that is kind of nice. All
Yeah.
right. Yeah. So we got One Piece episode 737. So basically, did you now personally when we found out, oh yeah, Sabo's alive and he, joined the Revolutionary Army, I was just thinking, oh, okay, well, he just survived and then he like joined it. I didn't think we needed more information, maybe just a little information about and stuff, but no, it looks like we are going to have a big flashback on it. So,
Mhm.
yeah, we got the whole thing about all of that, and yeah, about him joining, and he doesn't remember things, but then he gets his memory back. And honestly, I'm really feeling like this episode so far, which will probably be continuing into the next one, is the sort of thing that could have just been explained by the character in like maybe 2 or 3 sentences.
Yeah, this was excruciating, this episode. I mean, couldn't wait to get it over with. Oh, like, aren't we gonna see like a nice goodbye scene like we always have? There's always like this episode where at the end of every arc, wherever the whole cast says goodbye and everything, and they wave goodbye and everyone's crying and stuff, and it's a good farewell. Like, are we still going to have one of those, or are we just moving right into something different?
Oh, we've still got 9 episodes before this arc is over, so
Oh, okay. That answers the question.
yeah. I just don't. This is just what I've been like saying. The issues I have so many times with a flashback, and I'm just thinking, look, the character could just tell us this backstory very quickly and efficiently, and then we could move on. But instead, we're spending all this time on it, which of course is exacerbated by the anime's constant padding and such. So what might have just been a more mild annoyance in the manga is suddenly turned into something much more dull because they have to pad it out so much. So yeah, that's basically the issue. It's a problem of I already said it, and it's just not that interesting, unfortunately. Okay. Yeah. I will say I will say one good thing for it. When I was watching this, I was feeling pretty tired, so maybe it's for the best it wasn't an important episode or an interesting one. Okay. So, all right, that's all our Toonami series. We'll move on to Yu Yu Hakusho episode let's see, 60. I have 64. I feel like this was 65. Yeah, this is 65. And where let's see. Okay, so Yusuke has beaten Toguro because of the grief he felt over Kuwabara's death. Turns out Kuwabara didn't actually die. He was just playing dead in order to give Yusuke the power up. And it's actually a pretty funny scene. Anyway, so with everything apparently won, Sakio announces, "Oh yeah, by the way, everyone, well, I lost, so I just rigged this whole place to blow up in 15 minutes." So everyone basically does their impression of the final sequence of Resident Evil 4, where you have to get off the island before it explodes, and then they managed to make it all out. Sakio dies apparently, and yes, that's the episode essentially.
You have an entire stadium set on fire and self-destructing, and then you have to try to get everyone out of there alive, which is crazy. But yeah, I really liked this episode. I thought it was a great conclusion to the most of the arc. I mean, maybe there's something more to the arc. I'm not sure, but I like this episode. I liked how Kuwabara faked his death because I didn't want him to have to be brought back by a wish, which I would have complained was too similar to Dragon Ball. Even though I don't even know if this came before Dragon Ball or not, but you know,
it came after Dragon Ball started. I don't know if it was I'm not sure if it might have run concurrently with Dragon Ball though. Let me check. Let's see. Yu Yu Hakusho started 1990, ran to 1994. Oh, it ran during Dragon Ball. It actually ended a year before Dragon Ball did, even though it started 6 years later. Yu Yu Hakusho was actually a pretty surprisingly short series when you get down to it, compared to, I guess I'm comparing it to Dragon Ball, so which actually itself was on the shorter side when you compare Naruto, Bleach, and especially One Piece. So, but yes, this by this point, the wishes and stuff in Dragon Ball had been well established. So yes, I do think this was good. The stuff with Kuwabara was funny. I do appreciate the fact that when Yusuke's angry at him, Yusuke isn't angry at him for playing dead. He's just angry at him for continuing to play dead after it was no longer necessary and making himself look lame by crying about it afterwards. He's like all sad, and Kuwabara just gets up.
Yeah.
And of course, the obligatory joke of Koenma saying, if you keep hitting him, he probably will die for real. So yeah, solid episode. I think we got one more episode of this arc. All right. Then we've and in other series where we've got one more episode of the current arc, because the arcs in this one are kind of short, we got To Be Hero X episode 9. All right, so Cyan manages to get out of the orphanage, although she has to her friend ends up having to stay behind there. She ends up making a bunch of money by singing, and then of course, all that stuff increases her trust level. She does manage to sign up with this one of the sort of hero agencies, but she asks, "Oh, can you help my friend out?" Then, and I don't know if they actually have done anything about that uh, yet, but this series also decides to do a Resident Evil 4 impersonation because at the end it looks like all the people at that orphanage are turning into zombies. I don't know what's going on with that, and I'm glad I watched the episode shortly before we recorded, so I don't spend the week waiting to see the next one. Yeah, I think I liked the previous episode more. This was a little bit of a mixed bag for me. I think I guess maybe they really wanted to sell the soundtrack for the show with all the singing in it, but but I think there's a little too much of that. But I still was like interested in her story, and I appreciate the way it felt different from the previous arc, which felt too much like the first one.
Yeah, I've kind of checked out of this series. I just don't really have much interest in it because it flips from you get connected to the characters for 4 episodes and then boom, they're gone and you got another bunch of characters. So yeah, this isn't what I expected. So I'm not really interested in it anymore, unfortunately. I think if it had stayed with the original characters and that original thing, I think I would have really liked it. But as it is, I'm just mentally not into it.
Okay. Yeah, it was a little bit of a weird choice to do that. And I kind of wish there was a little more of a connection between the stories. I think maybe I heard that like as it goes on there is more of a stronger one, but even if I'm basically just watching an anthology series, as long as the stories work for me, I'm okay. And I like this one so far. Well, we'll see. The sudden appearance of the zombies could suddenly make it feel really stupid next episode to me. Okay, so we got Anne Shirley episode 9. Okay, so basically everyone's trying to take the right. No. First, Anne is going, and some of the others are going to school at that other place, the Queen's Academy, and basically, if you're and then there's some tests at the end for going to get a scholarship for the college, and the big one is $250 a year for 4 years. I have no idea how much that was worth back in the 1880s, unfortunately. So I have no idea what kind of money that actually is. Especially because this would have been Canadian dollars. Anyway, so yeah, there's still stuff with Gilbert and Anne kind of trying to beat each other in the exam stuff. If I remember correctly, yeah, Gilbert gets first in something, but Anne manages to win this other thing that gets the scholarship for her. And that seems all and that so things seem like they're going pretty well for her then. And there's also some nice stuff between, Anne and Marilla and Matthew with them saying, yeah, it's got, we're, because at the start of the episode, they got her by accident, but they're like, no, that's totally fine now. That was a great accident. So yeah, that's kind of cute. And that's the episode.
Yeah, and we're promised that something really bad is about to happen, which was kind of obvious whenever you saw uh, Anne take that walk with Matthew and Matthew saying how proud he was of her.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, okay, I'm 100% sure that he's going to die soon. If if he was giving her that uh, speech, so that was a little obvious to me what's going to happen next, even without seeing the preview. And Yeah, I thought it was a pretty good episode overall.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the preview that was like a pretty. This is one where they don't actually like say anything. You just see some scenes, but you see Matthew collapse, and you just know, okay, he's either going to die or be somehow really incapacitated because they have been doing too much with that. The first fall he had mentions of him having chest pain. So either he's like gonna die from this or something, or he's like gonna get some really strong stroke at like sequela, hemiparesis or something, some level of immobility maybe that is a problem. Something bad is going to happen to him at any rate. But yeah, the one thing I did want to mention, I have seen people have said that this really has been going through the book pretty quickly, kind of rushing some things, skipping over some things. Up until this point didn't really think at least it didn't feel to me like it was doing that. But this was a case where I was thinking, oh yeah, they probably just skipped over some stuff here. Because there's a part where Anne is narrating about some of the friends at the school and she's like talking about them and their personality. I'm thinking, I'm pretty sure we probably got to see more of this stuff in the book, but to try to get through stuff faster, they just had Anne just tell us their characterizations and then move on.
Yeah, I felt like this was the last few episodes actually have been moving too quickly, and that's unfortunate because I've started to like the show again, and it's just we're like in warp speed trying to get her to become an adult already. So
Yeah,
yeah.
the original anime, I only saw one episode, but I ironically thought that had the opposite problem. That one like very much took its time with everything. This is going like way faster than that. Like something like I think like the people did calculations or something. Like what it took 4 episodes for that anime to do, this one does in 1 usually.
Uh-huh.
So
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking, yeah, it's good in that one because it gave like you focus more on some things. But on the other hand, from what I saw, that original anime, I thought it kind of went too far in the other direction. It could have actually done sped things up a bit. And I'm thinking, I wish there was like just maybe an anime that was maybe a happy medium, but maybe they just wanted to like try to get through because the original anime in only cover the first 2 books. This one is covering the first 3, ending half the time also. So I guess you just kind of have to do that. From what I know, I have been spoiling a few things. The 3rd book actually does sound like a better place to sort of end an anime than the 2nd. But actually, I'm not even sure what happens at the end of the 2nd. I just know what happens at the end of the 3rd. So
Yeah, I don't know any of that. So
yeah. Yeah, who knows? Maybe they'll then announce, "Oh, we'll have a 2nd season and do the next 3 books."
uh-huh.
The way the series work, there's 6 books sort of in the main series, and then there's 2 that are sort of spin-off sequel about other characters. It's kind of weird because like the original 6 books, after the first 3, they end up like out of order. I think the after the 5th book chronologically is the next one that was published after the first 3. Then I think the author brought out the 4th, which took place between the 3rd and 5th, and then brought out the 6th one, which takes place after all of those, which makes things. I think people usually suggest you just read them like chronologically, then in publication order. Or at least that's what I thought. I actually was trying to search online to find information about it, and like no one was answering it. I only like found like 1 or 2 persons who said, "Yeah, I just read them chronological." Yep. All right, we'll see what happens in the next episode then. All right, and then we got Kowloon Generic Romance episode 9.
Okay, so I am totally confused as to what's going on. So maybe you can help me with this. I just know that now Reiko she looks through these glasses, and every time she looks through these glasses, she's able to see what Kajirai B was able to see. And yeah, but that doesn't really solve much. I'm just very confused. Do you understand this more than me?
I don't know. I,
Yeah.
I found some parts confusing also. My problem is I'm not sure how much I'm actually supposed to be confused with this series. Because sometimes you're supposed to be confused by a series, and then you get the answers as it goes on. I'm thinking, am I
Right.
supposed to be like that, or am I supposed to like be understanding things a little better? I think I think it's probably a mixture of the two. We do
Mhm.
mention where, yeah, Yao Mei. The thing we do find out is that Yao Mei says something about how yeah, what was it like? She just forgets the stuff that was happening outside, that happened outside, and then there's some stuff about, you know, how things might be dangerous the in Kowloon, in affecting people. And yeah, it was just kind of confusing. I don't know how. I don't think I can do a better job explaining exactly what happened in this episode either.
Mhm. Yeah.
There, like, wasn't like a whole lot of it was about some of the characters basically giving some speculations about, you know, like, hey, if you know, like the stuff about, like, if you make a copy, then the original dies, or maybe the copy die. I can't remember exactly what they said. It was just kind of confusing, unfortunately. And once again, I it's always hard for me to know if I'm supposed to be confused or not by it.
Mhm.
So, yeah, sorry, kind of an underwhelming explanation of it, but that was the episode. There was like a bunch of like talking about things, and it kind of, I kind of understood some parts of it. It's just hard for, I just don't know how I would try to explain it. The parts that I did actually understand, and then there's the parts I didn't. So,
Mhm. Yeah.
okay. Anything to add before we move on?
No, not really.
Okay.
Just
Well,
that just that pretty much I'm not really enjoying this show nearly as much as I did at first. So unfortunately it's kind of dropped off. So yeah.
okay. All right. Well, the next series is easier to understand what happened. That's Witch Watch episode 9.
Yep. So first half of this episode, really sappy. We have Nico have to put together a letter that was written to a girl by her mother, and it's all super sappy and stuff. And then the next second half of the episode, I'm trying to remember now what happened there. Do you
The
remember what happened in the second half of the episode?
Yeah, well, technically thirds. There were three plots in this one. The second was where they meet this guy who, because whose basic joke is that he speaks like a character from these English textbooks with, you know, really simple
That's right.
sentences and stuff. And
Yeah,
so
that's right.
yeah, they try to find he wants like to scout this girl and is trying to get their help. He ends up doing it though, and it works out fine because it turns out she talks just like him. And then in the last one, Nico basically casts a spell on Morihito that lets her see his emotions better by having
Oh,
this
that's
little,
right.
yeah, the little guy on top of his head that shows what he's thinking.
Yeah. Yeah. Overall, I thought it was probably the worst episode of Witch Watch so far. Like, I like this show a lot, but this episode just it was too sappy for me. It was too emotional. Like I just want like some more of this lowest common denominator humor, like the guy's moving at 10 times human speed and he has to slow down his speech so they can hear him. Now that stuff was pretty funny. This, especially that first part of this episode, just way too emotional and about a character I didn't care about anyway. So yeah.
That was the problem with it. I could have taken, okay, we're going more emotional. That's fine. The problem is I'm thinking, who is this character again? She's shown up before. It's just that we're focusing all this on someone we like really don't know that well. If this was at least based around one of the characters who had gotten a bit more focus, it might have been a little more interesting. But that's the problem. On the other hand, I thought the second one was really funny. I just thought the joke just worked for me. Now, I never looked at they actually call out explicitly the name of some kind of English textbook in Japan that the whole thing was meant to be a parody of. I've never looked at that, but there's one Japanese textbook for English that I had actually had conversations like that. So the whole joke worked out pretty well for me. So I thought that was really funny. And the last one was just kind of cute. So it all averaged out to be decent for me.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And yes, I will say, ironically, we had the whole story about like, I thought you weren't like the actual like father or mother or whatever, all that stuff. And I was thinking it's kind of funny because I actually I decided to start, trying to catch up more on Dark Gathering, the manga, where the anime left off. And I was thinking, okay, well, this is a lot much happier than what happened in one of those chapters where you find out the backstory of one of the ghosts, which is that which was that he was working really hard to care for his daughter, but it turns out it wasn't actually his daughter. The woman just lied to him and had it with another guy. So then when the daughter's going to get married, she like doesn't even she just tells like the person who thought he was her dad, I'll like, screw you. I like my other dad more. So then he goes crazy and kills all of them and then becomes a ghost. And then that's the backstory for that on Dark Gathering. I'm thinking, well, this was a lot happier ending than that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. That was a weird transition. Now I think about it. Talk about a cute little funny series. And anyway, here's some dark stuff from Dark Gathering. Okay. Yeah. All right. So after that, right, we do have finally My Hero Academia Vigilantes episode 6.
Am I doing it or are you doing it?
Actually, that's what I was wondering. Do you want me to do it? Do you want to do it?
Yeah, you do this one. Sorry.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's fine. So I'm sorry. Did I say episode 6? I meant episode 7. So, okay. So Koichi is approached by this other student, and basically with the agreement, hey, if you help me out with some things, I'll help you out with your tests and homework and all that sort of stuff. Mm-hmm. Basically, she wants to do she's doing a bunch of research into things about the backstory of quirks and vigilantes and such. She is, of course, and she's also trying to find out about the group of 3 vigilantes, which of course includes Koichi. So they do a bunch of like questioning people what they think of them. There's a bunch of like jokes there, like everyone like just like says, oh, that the Cruller, well, he's cool but creepy, or he's weird and creepy, and everyone thinks he's creepy and some other thing. Ultimately, though, he ends up, having to basically her laptop gets stolen by some guys. He manages with some help of some others to get it back. We find out that her quirk is that if she's touching someone, she can tell if they're lying. So she immediately asks him, and this got a laugh out of me. She asked him, "Are you the Cruller?" And he says no, because she just got the name wrong. And then she says, "Oh, he's telling the truth. I guess he's not him." Because she said the name wrong. Yeah. And yeah, that's basically and that was the episode. There's also a bunch of stuff with Step, basically getting annoyed with all the stuff because she has because basically when Koichi and what's her name, Makoto, I think, yeah, they go into his room and where Pop Step was, and she just has to hide the whole time, and so that was a little amusing. And yeah, that was our episode.
Yeah, so yeah, I like that stuff with Pop Step trying to hide and stuff, and you can tell that she has a big crush on Koichi. I just wonder, what does Pop Step really do? All she does is just jumps around, I mean, how is that very useful as a quirk? You need to have some real power if you're gonna be a vigilante, I would think. Oh, by the way, I noticed that the title, whenever they show the title of the show, the Japanese version, it says illegals. And I was thinking, okay, I see why they changed that in the English version. So it didn't say illegals, My Hero Academia illegals. So,
Yeah, the full title of it in Japanese is Vigilante My Hero Academia Illegals. So they dropped off the illegals part and moved the vigilante to the end instead of the start.
Now, are there 2 seasons of this?
There's only one. This is the
One
first
season?
season. Yes.
Okay.
Okay. There a second season has been announced, but it has
okay.
we'll be getting season 2 next year.
Okay.
But there's only one season out so far.
Yeah. Some reason I like this show a lot more than I like the normal My Hero Academia. I don't know why that is, but maybe the characters are just better.
It does seem to feel a little more focused in the characters. We've got 3 main characters here, whereas where were we at this point in My Hero Academia, the original episode? Let's see, episode 7. Okay, I guess we hadn't had that many introduced quite yet at this point. We just had introduced All Might, Deku, Bakugo, and then a bunch. The other ones were just kind of random people at that point. It was in some of the later ones where it's like, okay, suddenly you've got 20 new classmates. Hope you can remember all of them. But yeah, there is one thing. When we were thinking in this episode, if I remember correctly, what in all the surveys, a big percentage of people said that they liked Pop Step because they liked her butt, and then
I forgot about that.
And then she's kind of annoyed by it. I'm thinking, well, why are you dressed like that then? Wear something else. Put on pants if that's an issue for you.
Yeah. Yeah, that was pretty funny. Whenever they show the percentages of the polls that they did, that was hilarious. Yeah.
I just think it's weird that she'd be annoyed by that, if I remember correctly. Whereas I'm thinking, well, yeah, but why are you dressed like that then?
Yeah.
Okay. So let's see. Yeah. Oh, one thing I should mention. I remember last week I think I was talking about how they didn't have, the in-character previews in modern shows much anymore, and I completely forgot. Oh yeah, no, they totally do that in Vigilantes and Witch Watch, don't they? So that was kind of silly on my part, but so yeah, I will say, yeah, I'm wondering what's going to happen with the new female character they introduced. As soon as she appeared, I just wrote down, okay, she's got about a 50% chance of being evil. So she hasn't done that yet, but she might end up an antagonist. I guess we'll see. Okay. Yep, that's basically it. That's all of our shows.
Yep.
And I guess we can move into what our favorites were. Do you want to go first to make sure you don't forget? Because you were saying that you forgot some stuff last week you wanted to say.
Yeah. So last week I forgot to name our best girl of the week, and it was Josie from Anne Shirley, the big fat girl. She was my best girl of the week. This week, the best girl of the week is the one who is giving up her life so Kenpachi can get stronger. That'd be Retsu Unohana or Yachiru Unohana or whatever her name actually is, the first Kenpachi. And then really bizarre here are my picks for top Toonami, top non-Toonami. For Toonami, I've got Blue Exorcist. For non-Toonami, I've got, and get this is for the first time since February. It is Yu Yu Hakusho, or I need to say it in the Photon voice. Yu Yu Hakusho. So, yeah, that's my pick for the week.
Okay, for me, this is a tough one because there were so many series that I feel had some good parts and some bad parts to them. And I'm thinking, so when I try to average them all out, how do they end up? And I think this is a tricky one. I'm just gonna go. I think I will pick Blue Exorcist because both Bleach and Don to Don had the issues where I really liked this part, and then this other part I didn't like so much. And Blue Exorcist at its best wasn't as good as those ones at their best, but it did have the less interesting parts. So let's go Blue Exorcist. And then I have the same problem with the other new series where I'm thinking, well, let's see. I like some parts of Witch Watch, but didn't like some parts of it so much. And To Be Hero X, I really like some parts of that, and maybe not so much. And other parts I was a little more bored by. So once again, I'm just going to go through the one that I thought was just more consistent. And that's a long way of saying I'm going to pick the same one as you again and say Yu Yu Hakusho. Or, hang on. Should I pick that or I'm suddenly realizing, Vigilantes. I was overlooking initially because before we weren't really watching it, and now it's kind of more official. Oh, that's a tricky one. Yeah, let's go with Yu Yu Hakusho.
Okay.
I'll still do it. Okay, and I think that's basically all of our Toonami and non-Toonami shows that we cover regularly. For next week, we'll have the same general lineup and both Toonami and the non-Toonami series. We might be dropping at least some series. We'll see. But for now, it's all the same. Okay. Yep. Anything else to talk about before we go?
Nope, not really.
Alrighty then. With all that, we will just say we'll try to do better next time.
Bye.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to our podcast, Toonami Therapy. We're recording on August 7th of 2025. I'm Michael.
Yeah, hello. I'm Tommy.
And this is our podcast where we talk about anime and, well, mostly anime. some of which airs on Toonami. So, yeah, I don't think there's any big news. So I guess we can just jump right into the Toonami series that we were watching. All right. So we'll just start out with Dragon Ball Daima, episode 7. Okay. So basically what happens is right. So Goku okay. Goku's group, continues onward, and there's some stuff about how, they basically come across some enemies, but then they have to fight, and they try to avoid a fight, but then they have to fight them. Also, they take out that collar that Pansy had, which was like a tracking collar thing, because they can just get rid of it now. And meanwhile, the other guys were going to try to go, with them, Vegeta and the other ones, but then their ship wouldn't work. But then, well, someone shows up and says, "Hey, I'll take it. I'll take them." So that problem solved. And yeah, then basically, ultimately, they're trying to get the Dragon Balls, the alternate universe Dragon Balls, or whatever they are. So Goku goes to fight the guy who guards it, and yeah, that's main stuff.
Yeah. I thought it was actually pretty entertaining, even though I'm not like the biggest fan of the Kais, or what are they called?
You
Are they
you mean
called Kais?
Do you mean
Like,
do you mean like Shin and the sort of purple guy, and also that red guy who usually hung up with him? Is that what you mean?
yeah, what are they? What?
Shin was one of the Kais. He was, I think, the Supreme Kai, and the other guy was, I actually can't remember who he was. I just knew he hung out with him. He was just the guy who hung out with him. I think it was his assistant or something.
Mhm.
Now I'm suddenly curious. What was it? I can't even remember his name offhand. I'm sure it'll list if I look him up. Shin. Let's see. And what was? I feel like it was. Sorry, just trying to figure out what the what was his name? I'm trying to look it up, but I'm not sure what I remember what his actual name. Oh wait, I know. It's the guy that Kibito. Okay, because I was thinking Kirito. No, that's the Sword Art Online guy. That's not him. Okay, he's the attendant Supreme Kai. So yeah, basically he's just Shin's assistant.
But they're Kais. That's what they're called, right?
Yes, Kais.
Okay, yeah. Anyway, my point was just that the Kais aren't very entertaining, in my opinion.
Yeah,
But
I'm not really
I
sure why.
actually enjoyed the episode though. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't really know why why the writers decided, let's have Goku be accompanied by Shin, because, I mean, he played his part in the Buu saga, but he's, other than that, he's just not that interesting or like popular of a character, I don't think. Unless he is popular. I don't know. Maybe the Japanese love him. So I mean, it wouldn't be the first time. There's been characters who were really popular in Japan that not that many people cared about in the U.S. Like, why am I forgetting his name? Hitsugaya from Bleach. He apparently was super popular.
Zero, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
really popular in Japan. Like, he got a movie about him, and
Yeah.
most people in the U.S. didn't really, at least that I saw, didn't really care that much about him. Yeah, he's like the big example.
I got to disagree with that though. There was a lot of Toshiro fandom back in the early days of Bleach here in the United States. I know from the going to conventions, he was a popular character to cosplay, so I think that was justified. But yeah, sometimes like remember that Konosuba thing, like the second most popular girl wasn't even one of the actual girls, you know?
You mean like the main characters
Yeah.
is what you mean? Yeah.
So
Yeah, that poll. That was I can't remember which character was it? Was it Iris? I think that was
yeah, it was Iris.
yeah, I was trying to remember if it was Iris or if it was who was the other character? There's some other character that was really high who hadn't made a big role at this point. Yeah, which was kind of funny because she hadn't even shown up in the anime at the point that one that poll was done. Okay. Yeah. It had some fun stuff in it. At the same time, I'm especially honestly the best stuff. The funniest stuff was when it wasn't focusing on Goku's group and was focusing on the other guys. There's that what man, I can't even remember the name what the joke was. I just remember there was a really funny bit about pizza. Something about like pizza and worms. That whole sequence was kind of funny.
Yeah. I'm gonna go have a pizza with worms. That was funny. Yeah, I thought it was actually a very entertaining episode. I know these characters aren't the best, but I enjoyed it. I think yeah, it wasn't that bad.
All right. So then we'll move on to the second episode of Don. All right. So, well, they managed to get away from the aliens and the monsters, but and we fought and Okarun, which is basically what Momo arbitrarily decides will be his name from now on, is still under the curse. So basically, if Momo's not like using her powers to keep it subdued, he just gets turned into the monster controlled by Turbo Granny. So they basically go to her house, but then they get to try to figure out what to do because Momo wanted to maybe get her mother to help, though she's not home. Anyway, they get attacked by another monster because in order to enter it, she had to take away off this protective charm in order to let Okarun get in because, again, he's got the curse on him. Basically, there's a big fight between them. They do. Oh yeah. Okarun is apparently he can fight if you transform his body, but not his mind. And ultimately, they managed to fight the monster, who I think actually they mentioned was an alien, and they were able to defeat it. And that seems all great and stuff, except then Momo falls unconscious from tiredness. Which then allows the curse to start taking effect again. So that's the cliffhanger there. So I like this one more than the first. There was a lot less weird fan service with, sexual assault in this episode. And it was much more just focusing on, kind of having a battle and stuff, which in some ways weirdly reminded me a little of JoJo. Like just the end where, Momo was like, well, now that we've been knocked out of the place, I can reactivate this to turn on the force field. And since we're outside, it won't hurt Okarun, but it'll beat you. I don't know. That just felt very much like the way a JoJo fight would end. So yeah, there's some fun stuff in this episode. I mean, there's still some bits of kind of crude humor. For example, I didn't mention this last time, but yeah, they do mention that Turbo Granny did as what does she say? She says like Turbo Granny took away your thing, which is they just always use these euphemisms. So yeah, but other than that, yeah, I liked it. Some of the jokes were funny, liked the characters' interactions, decent fight. So yeah.
Yeah, I don't know about this, so it's too much of a fooey for my like. It's just too bizarre.
Okay.
I don't think it's bad.
Just for a little.
I don't think it's bad, but it just feels so wild and out of control that I know there's people who like stuff like that, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with liking it. I just it just might not be for me, you know?
Okay. Unfortunately, I don't know if the problem was on your end or my end, but when you were talking for a bit there, some parts kind of shorted out a little. So, but I heard you like mention you thought it was a little too random. Was
Yeah,
that what you said? Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, there's some weird stuff there, but I didn't. Yeah, I'm trying to think of the best way to say it. I don't think this is anywhere like near as crazy as say like Fooly Cooley or anything like that. But I can see how that part might be a little weird. I definitely know the series is definitely what you could say weird with a bunch of the stuff, and it is kind of manic. So, but at least on this episode, I thought it was with a few issues. I thought it was decent. I at least liked it more than the first.
Okay.
All right. Anything? Okay, we can move on to Bleach Thousand Year Blood War episode 10.
Yeah, so we get the conclusion of the Unohana and Kenpachi battle where basically it's just Unohana throwing away her life to make Kenpachi stronger. And Kenpachi Zaraki stronger, actually, I should say, because Unohana was the Kenpachi. But so we get that, and then we have Ichigo and Renji with the Squad Zero guys and the guy who makes all those Zanpakutos as we continue to retcon stuff like where the Zanpakutos come from. Oh, they all come from this guy. And Renji and Ichigo get thrown in a pit, and Renji's able to get his, but Ichigo isn't. So Ichigo's a total failure who's never going to get a Zanpakuto. He's hopeless. It's all over. And that's how the episode ends.
Yeah. So it was well, basically I thought the fight between Unohana and Kenpachi was mostly pretty boring. It really
Yeah,
was. It was really was mostly just Unohana. Like, I mean, they were fighting, but the fighting itself doesn't really matter. It's mostly just Unohana monologuing a whole bunch.
yeah.
So, so yeah,
It
there's
was like
that.
this is gonna be my final episode, so you're gonna let me talk.
So yeah, there's that. There's also the fact it's funny because so she dies because Kenpachi in fighting back ends up killing her, and it does bring up questions like, okay, you didn't really have to die. You had healing. Couldn't you heal yourself or something? It's weird because Kenpachi seems to be like echoing the whole thing. Wait, why are you dead? Just heal yourself, and he's just kind of in disbelief over the whole thing.
Mhm.
But it did make him stronger. It did make him able to actually contact his Zanpakuto, who says what its name is, but then cuts away because well, it just does. Which of course you might think, oh well, okay, it's because it might be a spoiler or something. But on the other hand, there's been so many series that just decide to not give a character's name to us, even though there's like no spoiler at all to them.
Mhm.
Like, remember that character in Hunter x Hunter? Was it Kamugi? Was that her name?
Yeah, Komugi.
Oh wow! Oh wow! I actually remembered it. But yeah, it keeps it from us for so long, and I'm thinking, but no, this isn't a spoiler in
No,
any
no, no,
way.
no. The one they kept us from was Mariam. We knew Komugi's name. We didn't know Miriam's name. So that's what it was. You don't have to fact
Wait,
check me on that. I'm
wait.
I'm pretty certain of that.
I thought we knew Miriam's name. That was the Ant guy, the Ant King guy, right? Wasn't like the
Yeah, we
big.
didn't know
Oh,
his name until the old man got forced to tell him it because he was like, "I'm not going to tell your name unless you defeat me in battle." So he finally
hmm.
defeated him in battle, and then he finally gave away his name.
Okay. Do you want me to like look it up to check or?
No, you don't have to fact
Okay.
check me. I know I'm right about it.
Okay. All right. Yeah. No. Yeah.
I'm
No.
certain
No.
I'm right about it.
No. You are right. It did. It did. I was just checking. He did. I think. I think. Okay. Glancing over this information, I think Kamugi originally didn't give her name when he asked, but gave it. But we learned it before he gave it. So I was remembering that bit from her and forgetting that part about him. So yeah. So yeah. As usual, when it comes to Hunter, remembering things from Hunter x Hunter, you were correct on that. So. But yeah, that's another thing. Or how they kept Emilia's name from us for a while in ReZero.
Yeah.
I don't understand why he gave Subaru the fake name. That was so weird.
Yeah. Like, what good did that give her?
Yeah,
You know?
it wasn't even a name she liked.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah. Oh yeah. I actually should talk about the other half of the episode. So yeah, we do have Ichigo fails the test and just gets kicked out. And I know it's the guy mentions like, Ichigo, you need to go back and figure out what's wrong with you or something like that. And I'm thinking, okay, that's fair. And we do find, and I know we do get the explanation. Okay, this is why Ichigo wasn't able to get his Zanpakuto fixed, because stuff that we learn in like the next episode or two. But I'm thinking the guy, the Zanpakuto creator, you could have like been just a little simple, just like say, yeah, you need to go back and figure out what's wrong with you, rather than just being, well, okay, you're useless, I'm just gonna send you home. You could have been a little more communicative about it. Okay. All right, Blue Exorcist, episode 35. All right, so Yukio is able to win his fight, even though it does mention his opponent is like immortal or something. So they say, okay, but he just turns into goop, so they have to like gather that up and separate it so he doesn't reform or something. Anyway, yeah, everyone else is doing all their stuff. The big thing is that Ryuji and Rin are able to get to I'm actually not 100% sure, because I kind of am a little confused about what exactly they need to do. I mean, I know they need to beat the bad guy, but what the plan is, I'm a little confused. But basically they get to the place to do the thing, except Rin can't unsheath the sword like still. But then they have a conversation, and then he just gets I guess the willpower or whatever to be able to do it. And yeah, then he's able to attack, and yeah, that's so yeah, he's gonna fight the bad guy and yeah, presumably beat him. How many episodes? Well, we've only got 2 episodes left in the season.
And there's what, like 4 seasons?
Yeah, although they're not all the same length. If I remember correctly, the 3rd and 4th seasons, were they both like, let me see. Okay, this season's 12 episodes, next season is 12 episodes, and then the season after that is either 12 or 24. It's one of those split cur seasons, so sometimes people count them as one season, sometimes they count them as separate. But no, sorry, it was not split cur. It was all in a row. I was checking the dates to be sure. So yeah, that's just a full season of 24 episodes. So yes, indeed, next season, I don't know if Toonami will continue into it, but the next season will be 12 episodes, and the one after that is 24.
Okay.
I thought this was better than this and the previous episode have been more interesting than Blue Exorcist has been for a while. I feel like things are being a bit more coherent, focusing on more on the characters we actually care about, being a bit more streamlined and straightforward. So yeah, this was nicer.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. And then we get One Piece episode 738. All right, so we get more of Sabo's flashback about getting his memories back and stuff. And then we have another flashback to a conversation he had in this arc with Luffy. So I'm not sure if we saw that whole scene or if we just saw part of it, and then or if this is just literally only stuff we saw before, but whatever. So we had that flashback, then we had another flashback to later. And yeah, then Sabo's leaves, and that Fujitora guy, the admiral, he just decides, I'm going to just roll a die to decide if I go to try to arrest the Straw Hats today. Well, okay, guess I'm not. I mean, I guess that's one way to make it more convenient for the main characters.
Yeah.
And yeah, that was basically the episode.
Yeah, this one wasn't that interesting. I think you're right in that we saw some of that conversation, but we didn't see the whole thing. And they kind of added stuff here with that conversation. I still can't figure out like why Luffy's brother was all of a sudden discovered way down the line. That doesn't make much sense to me. But and he's always been super important to him, yet we never knew he existed. We never knew he existed.
we did know he existed. There was a flashback a while ago where we learned about him, but then he died, apparently. I can't remember if we, as the readers, it's been so long since I saw it, I can't remember if we knew he was alive or not. Luffy thought he was dead, but it definitely was a case of, it was pretty far into the series where we suddenly discover, oh yeah, Luffy had this other adopted brother, not just Ace. And so, or wait, Ace wasn't Luffy's biological brother, right? I think. It's been so long, I cannot remember. Either, but they at least were, even if they weren't biological, they were definitely thought of themselves as brothers. But yeah, then we find out, yeah, there was this other guy, but they thought they died, and then he just shows up again in this arc. And then he gets, Ace's old powers of flame fruit. It really feels like Sabo exists because Oda killed Ace and then decided, oh well, dang, I kind of wish Ace was still around. Here you go. I'll just say there's this other character who has the same backstory with Luffy, and he'll get Ace's power. So basically, he's just Ace again. That's how you kill off a character, but basically keep them around. So yeah, that's One Piece. It was more interesting than the previous episode, at least. All right. That concludes our Toonami series. So we'll move on to the non-Toonami ones. All right. So we got Yu Yu Hakusho episode 66. Right. All right. So with the arc done, everyone's decided, well, I guess we'll just go home. And then we decide to. So remember, we've talked about that trope before, where just before a character dies, we get the big flashback that talks all about their backstory and how it was tragic and all that stuff. Well, Yu Yu Hakusho decides to do this after the character dies, because we get a whole lot of stuff about Toguro's backstory. About how he was like this martial artist guy and how he was actually seemed to be a good guy until this demon killed all his students, which made him go to the dark tournament to beat and kill the demon. But then he became a demon himself, and there's all this. It's very weird because there's all this speculation about characters. So why did Toguro do all this? And the answer is basically, I don't know. That's basically what they say. Yeah, anyways, Toguro died. He meets with Koenma and basically requests what he like the strongest the worst punishment someone can receive in the afterlife, which for some reason they call limbo, which is not what limbo is at all. That's kind of like a Catholic like hypothesis about what happens to the infants who die who haven't been baptized. It was just kind of this idea of what happens to them. But it's not like dogma or anything, but a bunch of people believed in the past. The specifics aren't important other than no, it has nothing to do with what they just said. Why did they say that? That's not even what they said in the Japanese. Why did you bring that up? Why did you use that in the Japanese? Because I turned on the subtitles for this because I wanted to see what they said, and they just call it the realm of darkest hell. And I'm thinking, why didn't you just say that if that's what it was? Even if you wanted to avoid saying that, although even though plenty of times I get in the in the uncut dub we've been watching, I'm pretty sure they use some language like that. You could have at least said something that resembles it, like, I don't know, Tartarus. You could have said Tartarus. That in the sort of way ancient Greek religion, that was like the sort of the place of punishment in the afterlife. You could have done that, and that would have matched up rather than just choosing something that had nothing to do with any of this. You might as well have called it. I should have thought of something. But you might as well have called it like, well, I want to go. You might as well have just called it like Andor or Tatooine. Just pick a random thing from something that has nothing to do with it. So that's my rant about a tiny thing that probably didn't matter all that much. And yeah, and the big thing is that and then Genkai comes back somehow. I don't know how. She's just back, and apparently Koenma did it somehow. How he couldn't do this before anything, I don't know. It doesn't explain. I guess he just did it because the tournament organizers were dead and couldn't fulfill a wish, so he did it. But yeah, Genkai's back and just leaves with everyone, and that's the end.
Somehow Palpatine returned. That's what we got here. And yeah, it had to have a happy ending, so we got a happy ending. Yeah, overall, I thought it was a pretty good episode. I enjoyed the humor. The thing I didn't like, though, was that they were trying to redeem Toguro. And it's like, why can't we just let a bad guy be a bad guy? Why do we always have to try to make excuses for them at the end of their lives? Like, oh, he really wasn't that bad, I mean, he just had a few bad circumstances to his life, and if those wouldn't have happened, he never would have done any of this stuff. And it's like, no, that's stupid. You shouldn't do that to, especially really evil villains like this one. Give him a chance to tell his side of the story. That's ridiculous. So I did not like that, but I did like much of the rest of the episode. So there you have it.
Yeah, I didn't mind them explaining, okay, Toguro was a decent guy in the past, and he still had, even in the present, some more decent qualities. He had to play, was like, okay, yeah, you can just bring back Genkai, and how he planned all this weird stuff out, and how he actually wanted to be beaten by Yusuke. I don't think a lot of that stuff was even necessarily inconsistent with what we saw of him before. We had known that he still had some kind of idea of honor, various things. So my issue was just he spent so much darn time on it, and have the characters speculate, well, wait, if he did this, why did he do this? And Glenma just says, I mean, it's just a bunch of ant hills, and there's an ant in every part of it that wants to bite you. Like a deep ant hill. It's just weird that the characters say, yes, his actions actually don't really make that much sense, do they? And they spend so much time with it. I would have honestly preferred if we just had cut out all the stuff with Toguro here. Maybe there could have been a little bit of a mention of how, he used to be a nicer guy before he went down a dark path, that would have been fine. But I don't think we actually should have seen him again like we did here. I think he should have just been gone.
Yeah.
So yeah, that unfortunately really hurt the episode for me. Just all this time on that, and it, like I said, people bring the question, okay, so if he was so angry at the demon, why did he want to become a demon? I don't know. That's basically the answer we get.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's the end of this arc then. All right. And then after this, we've got a new arc. So which I cannot remember that much about, honestly. So that'll be interesting to see. I mostly only remember the beginning part of it. I do remember some people saying that they thought the bound. This was like long ago, and I remember at the time being a little confused by it. But I saw some people say they thought that the Bound arc of Bleach was basically a ripoff of the chapter Black arc of Yu Yu Hakusho, which is what we're getting next. So I guess we can look for any similarities. I remember some similarities at the start, but then it just kind of felt very different afterwards. At least I remember that. See, I don't remember that much about this arc, but I remember that I thought this at the time, even if I couldn't actually say the arc. I remember thinking, I don't think they're really that similar, but I just threw that out. Maybe I'll still think that's wrong. Then again, by now it's been so long since I saw the Bound arc, I won't be able to remember, but you saw it more recently, so maybe you can comment at the end of it.
Yeah, I saw it a few months ago. So,
all right.
Yeah.
Okay, Yu Yu Hakusho done. Moving on, To Be Hero X, episode 10. Now, due to a miscommunication, you didn't actually watch this episode. You told me, you thought we were dropping it, but I was thinking this would be the episode in which we decide whether that was the case, because you weren't really enjoying the series, and there's no point in continuing perpetually if only one of us actually likes it. But this was the end of the Cyan arc, which is why I was thinking that would be a good time to make the decision. But so you wanted me to just I guess say what happened anyway.
Yeah.
All right. So basically what we find out, first things for one thing, I mentioned I was a little confused. So wait, didn't they go to Cyan wanted them to help her friend from the orphanage? Did they not do anything about that? We do find out that apparently he made people think he was dead. So I guess that explains why they didn't do anything there. But anyway, he's actually alive. What we find out was that his parents were on that, because Cyan was the only survivor of that flight that crashed. Which is attributed to, her incredible luck. Turns out his parents were actually on that flight, and when he found that out, he and a bunch of other people started thinking that Cyan's power just actually takes luck away from other people to benefit her. Anyway, it turns out the orphanage owner guy actually had a recording of what happened on the flight, and I guess he just never listened to it, or maybe he did but didn't care. But anyway, so Cyan has to go to find that. We also do have, I mentioned that people seem to be turning into zombies. It was really more like they were being possessed by fear, because that was the alternate power to trust that can give people who are bad guys or being corrupted somehow power. He actually gets a bunch of that. So, because he's really angry at Cyan because again, he thinks that she was the one who basically sort of killed his parents in that way. After a whole bunch of battle with her dealing with him and some other corrupted people, which by the way, I thought was actually looked really good. We haven't seen much action in this part of the arc, and I thought it looked really great. This series has some pretty good fighting animation. She gets there. We find out that what happened was while she was on the flight, basically everyone there, when they found out, oh yeah, we're going to crash and we're probably all going to die, basically just really wanted her at least to survive. So So all their kind of wishes for her to be lucky enough to do that, like everyone on the plane, including that other character's parents, took shape and gave her that luck, which in some case, in a lot of series would seem really cheesy, but we already know that what people think about you actually can affect you in this world. So works fine here. That basically caused her to gain that incredible luck that she's had throughout the series. That everyone finds that out. That's and thinks, oh yeah, that's great. Okay, so that she doesn't take power away from anyone, which makes her popular. She all that stuff is solved. Also, it ends up catapulting her to be the 7th ranked hero. And I didn't even realize the joke there until I happened to see someone mention it, Lucky 7. And then that's it. We finished with this and leaving me thinking, wow, this was really good and I really liked it. And I'm interested in Cyan and seeing more of her. But of course, the next episode is just going to focus on a different character now, as is usually the case, which is, I guess, the one issue with the series. So that's my lengthy explanation of everything that happened. So, what do you want to do going for like next week? Do you want to drop it? Do you want to watch the episode and see if it changes your mind on anything, or what?
Not really interested in it. So, yeah, probably just move on, I guess.
Okay. All right. So I guess we'll just drop that series. Then
you can always talk about it on the podcast, like at the end, So,
well, I mean, if we're dropping it, I was planning to probably start speed watching it and to catch up to where it is now. That's why I wanted to know if you wanted to keep watching it or give it another episode or anything. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I have heard that I think as it goes on, they do start having stronger links between all these stories as it goes on. So yeah. But anyway, yeah, I liked it. I wouldn't necessarily this is my favorite of the 3 arcs we saw, but I honestly think Cyan is my favorite of the characters so far. Okay, so we move on to Anne Shirley, episode 10. So Matthew dies and everyone is really sad. Okay. I was kind of flippant, but honestly, the episode has it happen basically right away. Okay. Anyway, Marilla also finds out that because she has some sort of eyesight problem that the doctor tells her where basically, well, you shouldn't be reading or knitting or doing anything that really requires eye strain. And also, or you could go blind. Also, you should be wearing these kind of glasses to prevent it. Apparently, the doctor said, yeah, if you don't do this stuff, you could go blind in half a year. And I'm thinking, is there an actual eye thing that, causes this? Or was this just was this sort of made up for dramatic effect? The book was written in the early 20th century, and maybe they didn't know eye diseases as well as we do now. Or maybe it is. I don't know. Yeah. I asked my doctor, I gave him the information about the symptoms. He said, that doesn't sound like an illness I know of, but he's also not an eye doctor. So, Michael here. I'm just putting this in after the fact. I said I asked my doctor, and if you were wondering if I actually went to their office to ask or something, I misspoke. I asked a relative who was a doctor, that's all. Maybe this is a small thing to correct, but I wanted to say this in case people were wondering if I actually went to my personal doctor just to ask this question. We resume now. Anyway, so Anne decides that, yeah, she's not going to take the scholarship because she wants to stay and help Marilla out with things so that she doesn't have to, sell the Green Gables and all that stuff. And right. And then she's going to take this teaching position in a nearby town. But then she gets the one in Green Gables because Gilbert, who was going to get that one, found out about it and basically chose a different one to let Anne do it. Anne finds out, they talk. She basically forgives him for the thing that he did 5 years ago. That was like the smallest thing to be To be fair, she says, yeah, I kind of forgave you already. I was just too stubborn to admit it. So, yeah, so all that's resolved. Anne's going to be working as a teacher in Green Gables now. She's, I think, like 16 and a half, it said. So I
Yeah.
assume when the school year starts, she'll be something like 17, which seems kind of young. But I guess back then people, moved into the workforce much faster. And then that's the episode. And this is also, incidentally, the point where the first book in the series ended.
Okay. Yeah, I really liked this episode. I thought it had the right amount of tragedy and comedy to be effective enough that it made me really enjoy it. So yeah, I liked it. I thought it was entertaining. Um, Funny thing is, this is the last thing I watched because I expected it to be the thing I liked the least. But it turns out it wasn't that bad after all. It was actually really good this week. So yeah, and the whole thing, Matthew dying, I think it's like because he saw in the newspaper it said Abbey Bank collapses, but then they didn't mention that the rest of the episode, like what that actually meant. But that was obviously supposed to mean something. So I'm interested in finding out what that all meant about the Abbey Bank collapsing because, well, it kind of killed off a character for it, so it better mean something, you know?
There was so this was I do remember, I think in the previous episode there was a mention of how I think Marilla and Matthew had their money invested in some bank or something, and there was maybe some worry that the bank might go under or something. So I assume that I can't remember the name of it. I am assuming this was the same bank there, which meant that they lost a lot of money as a result of that, which might have been part of the reason why Marilla was worrying about money trouble and would have had to sell the place. But if that's the case, I feel like the episode should have been more explicit in mentioning it. Because this was like the last, again, this is where the first book ended. So I don't think they would be saying next episode, oh yeah, by the way, here's the explanation for the thing in the previous book. I think either we were supposed to figure that out ourselves, or maybe because this is a pretty compressed adaptation, they just kind of thought, okay, we won't go into too much detail about it. But if they had mentioned that, if they had just mentioned more explicitly that that's what happened, so we don't have the money, and that's why, I'd have to sell Green Gables. If that had been more specifically mentioned, which I assume is the explanation, I think that would have made things make a little more sense.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I maybe I should have looked at the book or something to check to see that, but I didn't think of it. Personally, though, I kind of feel that, I mean, maybe part of I didn't really have that much of a reaction to Matthew's death. Now, maybe part of that was because I had already been spoiled on it, but
Yeah.
I did kind of feel like he was between him and Marilla, he got less focus, and the anime also kind of made it from what I understand, a lot more obvious that was going to happen, because the first time he collapsed a few episodes ago, apparently that happened off screen in the book. It's just mentioned to Anne. Marilla just mentions to Anne about it later on. Yeah, Matthew had a spell and collapse, so there's less emphasis put on it, which makes the part where it happens again and he dies more impactful. Whereas here, even if I hadn't already known about it, it would have been kind of obvious something was going to happen, because not only that, but it kept focusing on how Matthew was having some sort of chest pain. So I think, like I said, I think it sounded to me like the book was a little more low key in the setup, in that it set it up, but wasn't quite as obvious that, yeah, something really bad is going to happen to him.
Mhm.
Yeah, but yeah, otherwise the episode, like the reactions and stuff, it worked pretty well. So it was, yep, decent episode. I'm interested to see what happens next when we get into the second book.
Mhm.
I'm I'm not sure if the author originally planned to write a sequel or not. The second book came out pretty quick, like 1 year after the first, so that indicates that she probably at least had some ideas. I do know the third book originally she originally wasn't going to write it, but then ended up writing it. So, and then of course, like 5 others.
Mhm.
But yeah, that's it then. I don't have anything else to say, I don't think. So we'll move on to episode 10 of Kowloon Generic Romance.
Okay, so Yao Mei and the one guy are trying to figure out the mystery, which I'm trying to figure it out too. And they want to figure out how you can survive outside of Kowloon. And they eventually do get outside Kowloon, but whenever they do, they turn around and look at it, and it's all collapsed and stuff. And Draco's somewhere in that collapse, and I don't know what happened to the romance part of this show. 'Cause the romance is kind of out the window now, and basically the rest of this episode just uh weird, mysterious stuff. I I don't really understand what's going on, but um, yeah. So they made it out of Kowloon just long enough to find out that Reiko's now stuck back in it. So we'll see what happens there.
Okay. Yeah, epi- the one thing about this episode I noticed was that you remember how they were like talking about, like website errors, like 403 error, 202 error.
Mhm.
And then I was like, "Oh, huh. I guess there are errors other than 404." So
Mhm.
I looked it up and I was like, yeah, okay. It was what it said. It's just, I didn't even realize that. I mean, I guess it should have obviously been that there were a bunch of errors lower than 404, except that's just the only one that you ever hear about, it seems. So, um, yeah, in terms of the episode, it was kind of, it's always hard to, how do I say it's always hard to describe this series because exactly what is happening is kind of confusing, and
Yeah.
if I try to explain it, I end up not making much sense. So I'm glad
Yeah.
I'm glad it's your job to describe the plots of these episodes. Yeah, but there was still some romance kind of with Reiko and Kudo, although it also was partially with Reiko saying, yeah, maybe we shouldn't like stay together. So
Mhm.
it's just, yeah, there was some more hints and stuff, but once again, we haven't actually gotten into resolution. And a whole lot of this series, my opinion, is going to depend on how interesting and fulfilling the answers are, because
Yeah.
which I have some worries about, because the manga isn't complete. So I know past a certain point the anime goes into anime original material. Now the thing is, because the manga is not complete, I don't, and I know it reaches an ending. I don't know if this is going to be like a Full Metal Alchemist situation where it just completely goes off in its own direction as the original Full Metal Alchemist anime did, or if it's going to be more like in a Kame ga Kill situation where the direction that the anime goes resembles the manga's eventual conclusion strongly enough. It's really obvious the author gave them notes on what he was going to do, and they kind of adapted that. Now there were Inakami
Right.
got killed. There were still a bunch of differences in like the details, like the one of the bigger ones is that fewer characters you care about, fewer of the main characters die at the end of the manga than in the anime, so it feels less bleak at the end. And I've always been curious about when a character who died in the anime survived in the manga, was that difference because in that case, did the author actually tell the anime crew, okay, these characters are going to die, and then while actually writing the manga, he changed his mind and had them survive? Or did he have it planned that they would survive, and then the anime writers just decided to kill them off for simplicity? Just a matter of thinking, okay, this character, in the manga, they fall into a coma and don't really do anything important for the rest of the series. So it would be simpler to just kill them off entirely than do what the manga did, something like that. So that's basically the thing with Kowloon generic romance. I guess maybe in a year or two when the manga presumably finishes, because I know it's going towards an ending, then we will know. But for now, I guess we'll see, and it'll be interesting to compare at some later point how it goes. But yeah, a lot is going to matter in how it sticks to landing in the conclusion for me.
Yeah. Yep. I agree.
Okay. And then we got Witch Watch episode 10.
Okay, so the first half of this episode, Bowie and Nico meet the school council and student council, and everyone is a different trope. So we've got all these bizarre characters who are like complete stereotypes of different tropes. We get a JoJo's Bizarre Adventure reference in there. And then we get a second half of the episode where the girl who turns into a cat shows up, and she's able to get close to Mori, who he starts petting her and caring for her, but whenever she turns back into human, he's too busy laughing at the comedy show that Nico and the other guy have on, that he doesn't recognize that she turned back to a human, so she's able to escape again without being noticed. And that's the episode.
Well, you did leave off one thing, which that when she escapes, she does manage to, when she's leaving, she senses something and comes across the fact that she found, what did they say? I think Warlock or whatever, some bad guy, was planning to attack or abduct Nico. I can't remember exactly what it was. So she decides, oh, well, I should warn her then. So, which was the thing at the end. And it's a good thing they added that, because otherwise I would have said complained that they literally just repeated her first episode, because it's the same setup, same process, same punchline. But then they put that thing at the end, so it's not just a repeat.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, it's in a way, this was even though the anime kind of referred to it as two different episodes, it really kind of felt, the one about the student council, I was looking something up in it, that was 2 chapters in the manga. The first one was really when they just meet the student council, and the second one was mostly when they were watching that video that the student council made and riffing on it. So I thought the part where they watched the video, that was like the funniest bit. It's like the part where it opens with this sort of Star Wars thing, except it's like written in a way where, well, if you don't know Japanese, you might not get the joke, but the way they wrote it is like really confusing. It's like really hard to read the way it was like going off into there. So that was good. There were a lot of funny jokes there. Yeah, it was. There were a lot of decent jokes in this episode, although it does look like we might be moving to something more serious next time.
Oh, okay.
Well, yeah, that was what happened at like the end. That was what they were teasing, right?
Yep.
Okay. Anything you wanted to add?
On that, no, I'm pretty well set on that now. Yep.
Okay. So finally, My Hero Academia Vigilantes episode 8. So a hero from America who is called Captain Celebrity
Mhm.
shows up, and he is a whose powers are basically that of Superman. Like he can fly, which by itself seems good, but he also seems to have super strength. So yeah, he's basically even more of a Superman than All Might is. Who so we get that. Basically, he's in Japan to try. We find out to try to rebuild his image because of some things in America, in the U.S. Like apparently, like his wife was suing him for divorce or something, and that was a scandal because he was hanging out with other women and stuff. Anyway, so he's here, but it becomes really obvious that he's more interested in just trying to get attention. He well, maybe not necessarily more in. Yeah, he's like more interested in getting attention and stuff than actually helping people. Although, to be fair, he actually does help people and fight crime. It's just he's very cares a lot about only doing so after the cameras get there to see him and stuff. So we get through all of. So we get all of that, and yeah, so he's there. They do manage to kind of convince him, hey, maybe you should try to adapt yourself more Japan and stuff. And he just gets this goofy thing where his like cheerleading squad is now like I can't even describe it, but it was weird. And of course, that's supposed to be the joke. Anyway, so yeah, then Koichi discovers that his mother is visiting, so he's like, okay, I have to get everything all ready so I look good. And oh darn, and he also made up a claim about him having a girlfriend, and his mother shows up and immediately is like, okay, so where's your girlfriend? Which is, I mean, and thus begins the classic sitcom joke of a character who needs to find someone to pretend to be his girlfriend, who I assume is either going to be Pop Step or what was the name of that other woman? The one with like the lie detecting power. I can't remember her name, but I assume it's going to be one of those two. Because they're the only like female character. Well, no, there was also that girl with the bee powers, but she's a villain, so I assume she's not going to be involved in that.
Uh-huh.
So, I honestly found Captain Celebrity hilarious. I just was like, this guy's hilarious. I like him. Not like as a person, but I found him a hilarious character.
Yeah, I thought I was more into the stuff with Pop Step and the Cruller character whose name uh Koichi, is that it?
Yeah, that's his name.
Yeah, so um so basically those those two were pretty entertaining, and then you've got some funny stuff from Captain Celebrity too, and him getting found out and all that. I I just wish that this show had more of a goal. I was thinking we were headed towards some big thing, and we haven't really got there yet. So maybe if we had watched this show every week, we would have been there by now. I don't know. Um, but yeah, an interesting episode to say the least. Knuckle Duster, I don't think sewed up once.
I I know he showed up at least once because he was the one who showed them, who told them about how Captain Celebrity, about his sort of like more mixed reception in America, and how he was called. What did he say it? Like, oh yeah, I think he said that he was called Captain Catastrophe or something there because of all like the trouble he got into. He said something like that. I think that was all he really did in the episode, though. Okay. And right. There actually one thing I wanted to mention. There was a funny part where the guy's like the bank robber and he's like, he's holding people hostage and is issuing demands, and he says that he demands an environmentally friendly getaway car. That was really funny. Okay. But yeah, I honestly really liked Captain Celebrity. I just found it funny. He reminds me of America from Hitalia, kind of. Ugh. Well, that was one of those series that seems like it was everywhere, and then it just kind of went away. Like, you know,
I was a huge fan. I did a whole bunch of panels at anime cons between 2012 and 2015. I did a bunch of panels on Hitalia at cons, and they're really popular. And then this thing called Homestuck came around. Homestuck stole all the Hitalia fans, and of course now Homestuck, no one would even know what that is. I never knew what it was, but that's what killed Hitalia was Homestuck. And Hitalia had gone so far up that it was second place to Naruto all time in fanfics on fanfiction.net. And then whenever Yasuhime came out, Inuyasha stormed back to take second place back. So yeah, I miss the days of Hitalia, but wow, that's a long time ago. It's so funny. It seems like forever ago. Oh man.
It's part of the thing is that it seemed like the series just kind of stopped. Like I was looking into some things like, okay, is stuff still going on? I feel like I'm trying to see, is the manga because the last thing that because there was like a pretty big gap. The last thing they had was they had some episodes and like in 2015, then there's a 6-year gap and there was like another batch in 2021 and then nothing since. Is the manga even still going on? The original finish. Now, is Italia World Star still going on? Wikipedia tells me it's like, you look at your original list of run and it says September 22, 2014 to present. But when it says to present, does that mean it's still going on, or it just hasn't ended yet? Because sometimes you'll see to present, and that includes something that's been on hiatus for like 10 years. Let me see if I can find out anything about whether it's still going on. Yeah, unfortunately, when I'm trying to look up this, I'm just seeing stuff about the anime. I don't know. I don't know if the manga is still going on or not. Yeah, that's just it. Just kind of, I guess, sort of stopped. We never did get it. I don't think we ever did get. Well, maybe we did in the later episodes, but I don't think we ever did get resolution to the whole joke about how the Holy Roman Empire thought Italy was a girl. And there was all that like wacky stuff with that. So yeah, it is interesting sometimes to look at stuff that was super big and then just kind of faded away. Like Italia is like the one that I most remember, kind of, it being everywhere and then just kind of fading and like not like in like a big conclusion or anything, and not something like Haruhi where everyone just got so angry about Endless 8 that its popularity plummeted. It was just a much more gradual process. Oh man, I wonder how many people listening even know what Endless 8 was. If anyone's wondering, basically they decided there was a time loop plot episode and they decided, you know what, let's do the same episode like 8 times until it actually finishes, and it was not popular. Ooh. Okay, well, that's my tangent to that, I suppose. Anything else to say about the series before we go into what our favorites were?
Nope.
All right. Okay, so favorites, Toonami and non-Toonami. Okay, do you want to go first? Or I can go first. Do you want me to?
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, okay. Well, for the non-Toonami, for me, it would be 2B Hero X. Toonami is a little harder for me. I'm trying to decide between Don Da and Blue Exorcist. That is a difficult one. Because I think because the stuff I liked in Dawn to Dawn I liked more, but I feel that Blue Exorcist was a bit more consistent. So I am going to do what is always best when you're stuck. I'm going to go to random.org and let it decide for me. All right, do your thing. All right, it looks like Blue Exorcist won.
Okay, mine, surprising choices this week. Toonami was Dragon Ball Daima. I seem to enjoy that one more than anything else this week. I couldn't give it to Bleach because they just decided to kill off Unohana for the sake of killing her off. Not Toonami, another surprise because this show had not won a week ever, but Anne Shirley won it for me this week. And the best girl of the week was Pansy from Dragon Ball Daima.
All right. Well, that's our coverage of the shows. Is there anything you wanted to talk about before we sign off? I was just going to mention that in case anyone was interested. Fate Hollow Ataraxia, I hope I pronounced that right, got its English release yesterday, I think. So it was, and if you don't know what that means, well, presumably you have at least heard of Fate Stay Night. I mean, we watched some of the anime adaptations of it. Fate Hollow Ataraxia it was a visual novel that was kind of a sequel to it. I mean, it took place after it, but it did so in some sort of apparently continuity where that doesn't actually match with any of the routes because it seems pretty much almost everyone survived it. So there's that. I actually think that might have been a plot point that there's some sort of like combining of universes to get to that. I don't know if it's good or not, but I was planning to check it out because I was interested, and they finally gave it an official English release on Steam and the Switch. So yeah, if anyone's interested in that, they could check it out. I need to get back and finish playing through the original visual novel because I started it because that got released last year, I think, in English. And then I just kind of stopped and got distracted by other things. And then I decide, okay, let's get back to it. Let's go through it. Let's at least do the full Saber route because that I didn't see any anime adaptation of it. I mean, there was one, but I hadn't watched it, unlike the others. Except then, and then I said, oh wow, and now the other game is coming out. Maybe I'll play that first. So we'll see. I just wanted to mention, just in case anyone had interest in that. I wonder if Ataraxia will ever get any sort of anime adaptation. But that's my babbling for the day. Do you have any babbling to do?
Oh.
Okay. So, all right. Well, that's everything. I guess for next week, we'll be back with all the regular stuff. We won't be covering 2B Hero X, although I plan to watch that off on my own. Honestly, that dropping a series does make the schedule a little more easy for us. So
Yeah.
maybe that might
And
have
we'll
been
probably be recording on a different day next week.
Yeah. Although considering how long it sometimes takes to get these episodes up, people might not necessarily notice. But maybe it'll be up. We'll try. We'll see. And that's it, I think. Then. So yeah, we'll all see you next week for all this stuff. Just minus 2B Hero X, and without further ado, we'll try to do better next time.
Bye.
Deep in the drifting sands of Egypt, an ancient enemy has awakened.
It's called Anubis, the Egyptian lord of the dead.
Yugi's alter ego holds the key to victory.
I will not let your evil plan come to pass.
But can he rely on the Pharaoh one more time? Yu-Gi-Oh! The movie. Saturday night at 7:30.
Let's duel!
It's duel or die. Only Toonami.